Thank you so much. And moving ahead, we have our next keynote presentation by Mr. A. Karthik from ManageEngine. And Naveen, the title of Mr. A. Karthik is Scale Up Security for Cloud IT Management and Future IT Trends. And please allow me a minute. Let me just present his presentation since Mr. A. Karthik couldn't be here.
First of all, I would thank the organizers to give me an opportunity to talk about scale-up security with cloud IT management and future IT trends. And let me first share my screen here. Yep, done. And on the presentation mode as well. Yes. So the growing trends in IT add much to the woes of administrators in terms of security and management. Cloud IT management has already gained momentum, and organizations look forward to move towards cloud IT management to reduce on imperative IT costs and maintenance. A security loophole like a configuration mismatch or missing security patch or unapproved data access or excessive privileges to users can dearly cost you much on IT and your business. So in this session, I'm going to talk about ways to scale up your security of your cloud IT management infrastructure, and these tips are applicable to the future IT trends as well. You could host your infrastructure in a public, private, or hybrid cloud, or would have chosen a service model for your business like infrastructure as service, or platform as service, or software as service, or backend as service. And cloud IT management will include more, but is not limited to help desk and service management, assets and CMDB, desktop and mobile device management, identity access management, security and information event management, network application, server monitoring. You may choose a public, private, or a hybrid cloud to host any of these services for your IT, but the major concern these days is to ensure security of your internal and external data. And in the next few slides, I'm going to discuss the right security strategy to adopt for cloud IT management and future IT trends. So let's first begin with endpoint security. The first step in this approach is to augment endpoint IT security to proactively detect and defend against cybersecurity threats. The major challenge of growing organizations these days is the increasing number of endpoints. With steep increase in the endpoints, traditional antivirus, file scanning, and security solutions are no match to the security loopholes that these devices pose to the network. In a study conducted by ManageEngine, close to 37% of the respondents did not use any kind of endpoint protection solutions or were just in the process of evaluating potential security solutions. The same study had revealed that 33% of the organizations say that their biggest challenge with endpoint security lay in its complexity of deploying, managing, and using these solutions. When it comes to vulnerability assessment and threat mitigation, you have to scan the endpoints regularly to detect vulnerabilities and mitigate them immediately. Early identification of immediately exploitable threats that require little or no user intervention. You have to put these vulnerabilities in context to understand the priority, urgency, and impact. You also have to prioritize the response, such as mitigation workarounds or patch management and much more. You also have to avoid hefty fines for not conforming to cybersecurity standards and regulations like HIPAA, PCI DSS, as the previous panelists were discussing. And patching might interfere with the ongoing operations of the business as well. Security configuration on workstations may include firewall audit, where you have to determine the ports to be allowed, applications allowed to run, Microsoft Office security, where to place your documents securely and set passwords for critical files, password policies, which actually enforce strong password policy and frequent password change, secure remote desktop sharing, logout and logon security, multi-factor authentication for your logon activity, managing user rights and privileges, prevent browser attacks by managing the plugins, extensions, browsers, and add-ons. When it comes to patch management, you have to automate the patch management, have a single agent to distribute patches for all applications and software, including Microsoft and third-party softwares. You also need to have a single console for patch management for Windows, Mac, Linux, and your mobile devices too. Ensure patching is done for both Microsoft and third-party applications, and have a flexible deployment policy like after office as deployment, shutdown or restart policy after applying the patches, and so on. And ensure that these patches are deployed only after proper testing and approval. On the application side, on the applications which are installed on workstations, you have to have a blacklist and whitelist of applications. Administrator access has to be removed on all applications and software, and just-in-time elevation of privileges has to be followed as a strict security measure. Have control over child processes of applications to be doubly aware of processes that do not invoke any virus or ransomware attacks, and provide application-specific privileged access to users and workstations. When it comes to privilege management, you have to adopt a zero trust security model and enforce role-based privileges to all users, irrespective of the hierarchy. To all the whitelisted applications, you have to have a self-elevation of privileges so that users can deploy the software all by themselves and remove unnecessary local administrator accounts, which when left unnoticed can be a security loophole in your organization. Device control. You have to control all the ports and connected removable devices, block unauthorized access to your data, and monitor all device and file actions effectively. Have control over the file access to prevent data loss with strict role-based access, limit file transfer by setting maximum file size and type of file, create secure and temporary access for devices to access your computers, and effectively secure files involved in a data transfer operation, and monitor file actions in real time too. File shadowing. You have to follow the data mirroring or file shadowing process, which helps you to prevent loss of sensitive files by storing a copy of the file in a secured location. And how do you prevent data loss? By reviewing the shared folder with copied data, the actual content of the stolen files can be identified. And this is the first step in a quick and effective recovery process. When a network failure caused by malware injection leads to corruption of original files, business critical data frequently accessed by remote computers can be, or remote users can be restored from a file shadow remote share folder. And finally, since all the file details are available with you or documented, and impacted users can be warned to change their passwords and encrypt their intellectual property, financial records, or as such, whenever there is a threat to their file data. When it comes to browser security, you have to mandate the use of trusted and approved browsers within the organization. And you should have a simple and straightforward policy configuration to secure your browsers. And exercise control over installation and usage of browser extensions and plugins. You also have to ensure legacy web applications are using the right browsers, and also enforce kiosk mode so that only certain applications and plugins can be used, and you may also have to restrict on file downloads. You can remotely wipe off the device data when it comes to mobile security management. You may have to remotely wipe off the device data when you think it is lost. You have to detect and report on high risk and non-compliant devices which do not conform to your organizational standards. You have to ensure that users can run only enterprise approved apps within the geographical area of your corporate network, and ensure the corporate apps are separated from the personal ones in the way that you will be able to enforce only the right apps go into the network, and ensure these devices, Wi-Fi devices, are compliant with the policies that you have set, the security policies that you have set for Wi-Fi, VPN, password, and as such. When it comes to SIEM, you have to ensure you just cut down on your log storage spending, audit all security events, ensure that these security events are correlated, and you identify the root cause of any incident, any security incident which happens within your network, and access the log data and scale up your network architecture too. Data analytics, you have to ensure that you actually do a augmented and predictive analysis of your data from various sources that you get. Say, for example, it could be from help desk, patch management, desktop management, or network server and application monitoring. You need to have rich visualization of the reports and also ensure alerts are being sent when the threshold value is violated from the data that has been collected. Moving forward, you also have to look upon privileged access management in the case that you have to have an enterprise credential vault which stores all the passwords, and you ensure remote access, secure remote access to all devices within your network. Ensure your technicians have right access to the right resources at the right time, and you don't have to start off with giving them the privilege of all devices with administrator access. And you also have to ensure for DevOps protection and application credential security too. When it comes to UEBA, which is User Entity Behavior Analytics, you have to ensure you gather data from all the sources, all network devices, endpoints, and correlate the events, which actually will help you identify insider threats, account compromise, or data exfiltration. So you actually associate a risk score for each and every activity of the user or the entity. And if there is any deviation from this, that's when you will actually identify if there is going to be an insider threat or account compromise or data exfiltration based on the risk score. Higher the risk score, higher is the security threat from the user or the entity. When it comes to data security, you have to discover all the data that is there in the organization, identify PII, personally identifiable information, audit your file servers for access, and if there is any deviation from the access, that's when you get it reported, and also analyze the storage data. Unwanted files have to be periodically removed so that you don't end up paying higher for this storage costs. And finally, when it comes to compliance, that's when you have an integrated compliance of your all the reports, and you may have to conform to compliance standards based on your industry. It could be PCI DSS or SOX or HIPAA or ISO 27001 security standards. And with that, I stop here. If there are any questions from the panel, from the audience, please post them. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you very much, Karthik, and thanks to the entire ManageEngine team. If you have any questions for Karthik or for ManageEngine, please drop us an email, or you can directly write to Karthik himself. And ManageEngine is a prestigious gold sponsor, and I encourage you all to visit ManageEngine's booth to know what they can do for your company, and definitely utilize the networking platform on the last day of the QCC Summit. The platform will be open only until 6 p.m. Qatar time today.